What if I told you that some of the things you do every day, the small habits you barely notice, might be silent signs of high intelligence? Not your grades, not your achievements, but the way your mind actually works when no one is watching. And here's the strange part. Most intelligent people don't even realize it because these habits don't look impressive. They look normal, but by the end of this video, you might start seeing yourself very differently. 1. You think more than you speak. You don't always rush to talk. In conversations, you pause, you listen, you observe. And sometimes people think you're quiet or even distant. But the truth is, your mind is processing everything. Tone, details, meaning behind the words. While others react, you analyze. And this is something Carl Jung often pointed out. Real understanding doesn't come from speaking. It comes from observing what others miss. That's why you don't feel the need to fill every silence, because silence is where you think. 2. You question things most people accept. You don't just take things at face value. You question systems, rules, even your own beliefs. Sometimes you catch yourself asking, why is it like this? Who decided this? Is this even true? And that can make you feel different because most people don't question their reality. They adapt to it, but your mind doesn't settle that easily. Jung believed this is where awareness begins. The moment you stop blindly accepting and start looking deeper, this isn't rebellion, it's curiosity. And curiosity is one of the strongest signs of intelligence. 3. You enjoy being alone more than most people. You don't always need constant noise. In fact, too much social interaction can feel draining. You enjoy being alone, not because you dislike people, but because your mind needs space. Space to think, to process, to understand. And when you're alone, something shifts. You feel clearer, more connected to yourself. Jung called this process individuation, becoming who you really are without the pressure of the outside world. Most people avoid being alone because they don't want to face their own thoughts. But you don't run from them. You sit with them, and that's rare. 4. You doubt yourself sometimes. This one might surprise you because most people think intelligence looks like confidence. But reality, highly intelligent people often doubt themselves, not because they're insecure, but because they see complexity. They understand that things aren't black and white, that there are layers, angles, unknowns. And because of that, they don't rush to say, I know everything. Jung believed that true awareness includes recognizing what you don't know. And that kind of thinking creates humility. Meanwhile, people who don't think deeply often feel more certain, not because they're right, but because they don't see the full picture. So if you question yourself sometimes, it doesn't mean you're weak. It might mean you're seeing more than most. 5. You notice things others don't. This is one of the most subtle signs. You pick up on small details, a change in someone's tone, a strange pause in conversation, a feeling in a room. Sometimes you just know that something feels off, even if you can't explain it. And later, you realize you were right. Jung would describe this as sensitivity to the unconscious. Your mind isn't just processing what's visible, it's reading what's hidden, patterns, emotions, energy, and that gives you an edge most people don't even know exists. So if you recognize yourself in these habits, thinking more than speaking, questioning everything, enjoying solitude, doubting yourself, and noticing what others miss, you're not strange. You're not too much. You're simply wired to think deeper. And in a world that rewards noise, depth often goes unnoticed. But that doesn't make it less powerful. If this made you see yourself differently, Write in the comments, I think deeper. And if you want to understand your mind on a level most people never reach, subscribe. Because here, we don't just talk about psychology, we uncover what's hidden beneath it.